today we have a guest. Her name is Etel Leit. And welcome, Etel. Good to see you.
Hello. Thank you, John, for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited.
So you're an author. You are a candidate for a PhD. You have studied communication, and you have founded a organization that I'd like you to tell me a little bit about. Though that won't be the topic really, but it's what's it called?
It's called Sunshine.
Yeah. And it's basically helping parents learn to communicate with babies and toddlers, and you incorporate sign language.
Right, you got it. Because I really believe that healthy relationship starts with communication, healthy communication. I mean, it's not something that we learn when we're adults. It's something that we learn not even at childhood, but at babyhood. And most babies, when they're born, they're crying, just like adults when they want something, right? The same thing. They whine, they complain. And I put together this beautiful program who teaches babies how to communicate with their parents before even they start speaking. And that's actually enhanced speaking, healthy communication, higher IQ, because these little babies who do not have the words yet, which it's all muscles, they don't have the muscles capacity to really speak. They can tell the parent if they want, if they're hungry or they diaper change or whatever it is. And that establish healthy communication just from the get-go. What a
Right.
gift,
Yeah.
right?
And, and what got me thinking, what interested me in that is it wasn't that long ago I was watching a video that Gabor Mate put out, and he was talking about trauma. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people think about trauma as being, very severe, but it can lie on a spectrum. But one of the examples he gave of trauma is being a baby, crying, and your parents not coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, that's really interesting that the baby is having a traumatic experience just trying to communicate with their parents.
Exactly. And the previous generations, it was like, you deal with your feelings, like our generations. Let's put it this way. For my work with parents, it's like you deal with your feelings and there is no place to speak even about feelings. What happens is to this generation, the new parents that I see, because I work usually with new parents, is they want to fix all feelings. So if the baby's crying or feel a little bit upset or sad, there is no space for that. So everything, this when a mom holds the baby or the dad, like, shh, it's okay, but maybe it's not okay. So we have the two sides of really not attending to the feelings. For me, any feeling, is there and we should acknowledge it. And we're going to talk about it later. It's we can talk about the feelings, but what is the actions? What are the actions that we are taking upon these feelings? This is the healthy or not healthy conducting yourself after.
Okay. Well, I just found it really interesting. I'd never heard of it
Thank
before, and I
you.
thought that was I think that's really great work. So,
Yes, my 14 months old, I'm just kind of like
mm,
wrap it up. My 14 months old, before they can even speak, they can say, I'm sad, I'm
yeah, that's
frustrated, I'm
amazing.
happy. Yeah, I'm excited. Just even the difference between happy, excited, and I'm curious. So when you have this language in, early age, what a beautiful opportunity it opens to this little baby who's going to be adult and is not going to be afraid of feelings. Most people are really afraid of feelings, no matter what it is. They're like, oh, feelings.
Well, that's amazing. Okay. So, your book, Unaddicted to You, Loving Yourself Through the Darkness, chronicles your personal journey through recovery. And that you're now like the second Al Anon that I've talked to. And I've been sober and for a long time in AA for many decades, like 34 years now, crazy amount of time. But I haven't had a lot of experience with Al Anon. And what I found interesting about your description of your process is that you were describing your recovery as an addiction itself, that you were addicted to basically the relationship. And I just found that really, really interesting.
Right. And it's not a substance, and that's the hardest thing because I always say this thing, we are not pandas. Pandas are soul animals. We are humans. We need other humans to be on this planet. So avoiding being with people, this is really hard. It's not like with substance or alcohol or gambling, which is like, total, abstinence. You need to relearn relationships with other people. And I can tell you from experience, many of Al-Anon members are actually, AA or NA members. They call it the graduate program, right? Because in Al-Anon, you learn relationship not only with other people, but also with yourself. So it's a kind of a joke being an addict to other people, but I was an addict to other people. For me, if someone was approving of me or not, that was my drug. If I can fix somebody or not, that was my drug. And there's no of that. I literally felt the withdrawals the same way. I just had a session with a client who didn't have contact with her loved one. She loves him so much, but he is an alcoholic for 4 or 5 days. And she felt the same withdrawals as with a substance. Isn't that interesting?
I can totally understand it. It reminded me sort of like almost an addiction to gambling in that you have the highs and the lows, and I mean, gamblers will tell me that they're addicted to the highs and the lows. The roller coaster ride, as you described it, on a roller coaster with a blindfold on.
Oh, wow. Yes. Exactly. And it's funny. I don't like roller coaster, but apparently my life was a roller coaster. So I want to tell you a little story that maybe can illustrate to our listeners what is really to be an addict to a person. So imagine a route that you take every day. It can be from your home to your car, or from your car to the market, or from your car to somewhere. And in this, you take this every day. And one day you walk to your car, let's say, and there is an old lady sitting there. And you're like, interesting. She's like, hello. And she gives you a $50 bill. And you're like, no, thank you. Right? It's like so weird. And she gives it to you. And you're like, no, she's like, no, it's for you. Okay. The next day you go, your same route, you go into your car. Again, she's there with a $50. And when you refuse, you're like, no, she's like, no, it's for you. Third day, she's there. Fourth day, your brain already knows that she's going to be there. Now, it's not even about the $50 because at first you're like, oh my God, I have $100 and 150. You kind of like contemplating, she's like, wow, she's going to be there, right? Fifth day, sixth day, seventh day, she's not there. The mind and the brain doesn't even think about the money. Now it's the trick if she's going to be there or not. And then the 8th day she's there, the 9th day she's not. And there is this mind game and this obsession of the mind, is she's going to be there or not. And that's what happens to people who love addicts, because what happens to addicts, I'm just going to say addicts, which in research, there is a different name. And they're like, is it going to be available for me or not? It's walking on eggshells. Is it gonna like me or not? What is it gonna be today? Because someone with substance abuse usually is not that available emotionally. So then starts this game, and then starts this. Okay, I'm going to help them, so they're going to like me and love me, so that I'm going to be accepted by them. And it's this vicious cycle, as you call it. How do you call it? A roller coaster with blindfold. But now we're playing really with fire because it's with another person, right?
So you grew up in Jerusalem, and
The holy chick, I call
yeah,
myself.
the holy chick. And I found that I loved reading about that to learn a little bit about that culture and your family dynamics, which I found really interesting. And what I found interesting was you wrote about the relationship between your mother and father, and your
Yes.
father wasn't faithful to your mother, and so he had these affairs.
Mhm.
And I may have misread it, but it seemed to me that your mother was more angry at the women than she was holding him responsible. Because the one time that you wrote about her confronting him, it was the woman that she was attacking.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
interesting.
Yes. Thank you for noticing it. As I said, thank you so much for reading my book. My mom was obsessed with my dad, but her obsession was, what is he doing? So the obsession was the other women. That's, I today as an adult, I know that this is my dad's addiction, the attention from other women, because he did love my mom. Actually, I still think that he does love her, but it does. But it was the obsession for other women, just like people that love people with addiction right? They start to have a project about the alcohol or, the substance that they're using rather than the person.
You wrote about that. Was it? I'm sure when you were a little girl and you were experiencing your family that it wasn't registering with you. But did you write about that because do you think that that impacted how you experienced relationships later on?
Absolutely. I think that how we perceive relationship of our caregivers, which is our mom and mom, dad and dad, single parent, this is how we grow up because psychologically, now that I'm doing my research, there is this embedded need to fix it. Now, since we cannot go back in time and fix it, we attract this if we don't deal with this. And I didn't because I didn't know what it is. We attract the same phenomena into our life as adult. And the need to fix it is beyond words because the psyche thinks, okay, if I fix my relationship, it's almost as I went backwards and I fixed my parents. And that's why, I'm sure you heard about it many times. People say, I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be like my dad. And guess what happens?
Right. You
They
become like them.
become like them. And it's not on purpose. It's not that something is quote unquote defect, or it's just that it's really the inner need to find a solution and resolution so I can tame my child who is thriving for solution because they're fighting. I can talk about myself. They were fighting. She was chasing him. He left. He came back and again and again. And nobody taught me any tools. Like, what am I going to do with that? So I found my Mr. Wonderful, whom I love and appreciate, by the way. My ex, he's the dad of my kids, but he has disease. And not knowing, I tried to fix him so I can feel really good about fixing what I saw. But how could someone explain it to me? Because at my home, I never saw, alcohol or drugs. Actually, we never had alcohol or drugs or anything like that. Oh boy, we had an addiction. Oh boy.
And later, when your parents did divorce, it was stigmatized. So it was like, don't talk about it. And so this also did it that carry on as part of making it more difficult for you to maybe think about getting help or getting out of the relationship even.
Right. So thank you so much for, bringing it up. I'm sure many of our listeners, they feel shame and embarrassment. I'll talk about my mom, then myself, then a few clients. So my mom's shame about what happened at home was so immense that even after she got divorced, she never said it even to her parents. For 5 years, we had to lie that my mom is still married to our grandparents. I mean, how crazy is that? And I love the sentence that they say all the time: we're crazy as our secrets. I talk to my clients a lot, and in my workshop, we are crazy as our secrets. When I live my life clean and honest with myself, I don't have to put a sign, outside. This is but honest with myself and with one person so I can feel accountable. I call it my side of the street is clean. So I don't have more secrets. My mom lived in secrets. I lived in secrets because what do I say? We had beautiful life. We still have two beautiful children. They were young at the time, and life seemed to be very perfect. And his job is beautiful. I mean, what would I say? Like, he's an addict? It's a lot of shame. A lot of shame. My first meeting, and I'm sure you read it, was really, really far. I think I drove so far so nobody will notice and nobody will know who am I and what I am. And I was really embarrassed. And now here I go. I wrote a book about it. So, and I really want to empower any listener that is now listening and feel the shame and feel the embarrassment and feel that they're alone. You are not alone. This is the story of many. Story of many. You don't have to feel this anyway. There are tools to help you to get out of it.
A couple other lessons I think I want to draw from your childhood too. Okay, so I really liked your mother. I loved your mother because I mean you were a brilliant student, all A's. Okay, and I'm sure she was proud of you, but but she wanted everyone to see how good you were doing and how brilliant you were, almost as if to show everyone what a great mother she was.
Right. You know, from a very young age, John, I learned to please other people because, you know, my mom went through a really rough time and rough life from, you know, when I was 14. Let's put it this way, when she was 34, she had 6 kids. 34
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with no,
She was very young.
she's very young and she's very beautiful. She's really pretty. And she's a fighter. She's a lioness. But I knew that I wanted to make her so happy. So how did I make her happy? I was a highly gifted child. I actually went to a highly gifted high school and then they recruited me to the Israeli intelligence. But I brought her only A's, you know? And that's it. And she was really happy because it's the less thing that she need to worry about. Like my sister, oh my God, she was always like, okay, you're the boring one. Let's go to your sisters. And I didn't want to be another hurdle in her life. So I learned to be a trophy and I learned to receive attention this way. You know, people please. And, you know, I'm like from a young age to read the temperature in the room so nobody will be upset. I am not the reason that somebody is going to be upset. And what happens to people who do that, and I call it people pleasing, is lying to yourself. I'm going to repeat it. People pleasing is lying to yourself. You learn to tame your feelings. You know, your feelings are not are ignored all the time by you, and just always attend to other people's feelings. And that's what I did in an older age. I kid you or not, John. On my ex-husband's birthday, I don't remember what birthday, I actually made a t-shirt and I wrote, his name in the book is Dan. So I wrote, you know, I wrote Dan's trophy. Dan's trophy. I mean, how crazy I am. How crazy. That's how I wanted him to love me. I want to be perfect.
One other thing I want to talk about your that early part of the book that this made me cry, but it also is very inspiring. And this is where I think that you drew on this later in life. And it was about learning how to ask for help. And it was that moment when your mother was so excited she's going to have her kitchen remodeled, and it was a big deal. So she has this contractor come in and he touches you inappropriately, and it frightens you. It's disgusting. You're shocked, and he does it a second time, I think. But then you call this number where they assure that you'll be anonymous, and you ask for help.
Yes.
And what I found interesting about it, they told you what to do, and you did it, and it worked.
John, I have goosebumps all over me. It's
Oh
actually,
yeah, I did too.
thank you. I know I'll tell you why. I had so many podcasts and radio talk shows and TV, and this is the first time that actually somebody asked me about it. So thank you. I was contemplating for a long time if it's part of my book or not, and I decided to put it because it will empower hopefully many. Yes, I was 14 and my parents just got divorced. And I knew that if I'm going to tell my mom that the savior, I mean, he was a friend of a family, touched me in an inappropriate way, that will crush her. No, she has enough. My dad left. I mean, she was in bed for months and months before the big remodeling, and the remodeling was the shining bright moment of her life. Finally, she can do something that she's really wanted for a long time. And for the listeners, I was driving in the bus to school. As I said, I was in highly gifted school. I had to take 2 buses, half an hour every bus to school, to high school, and back every day. And after that, clean the house, take care of my 5 siblings, and clean government offices with my mom, because that's where we brought money home. I remember I didn't know what to do with him. I knew that it's disgusting and it's not right. Like I was 14, was really naive, and I knew that this is not right. And I saw a billboard, and the billboard said hotline. And I memorized it because I was embarrassed that somebody in the bus will see that I'm even writing it. So entire time I memorized it. I went to the bathroom. I wrote the phone number in a piece of paper. And back in the time, we didn't have cell phones. We had this one phone that dragging all the way to the room. And I asked her what to do, shaking to my bones. And she said, and I wanted to repeat it to my listeners, because it's not only for asking for help, but it's having the courage to follow through. And she said, look at him in the eyes and say, you never come to my room. I mean, I'm petite. I know you can see that. I was a little girl. I'm still little. It was big. He came to my room, he entered, I looked at his eyes. And I think that this is the first time that I really prayed, like really prayed, not because my mom or dad told me, I really prayed. There are two kinds of prayer that I think, that only two. There is help and thank you. That's it. All of it is the nuance of it. And I prayed to have the courage, and I looked at his eyes and I said, do not come to my room ever again. And he never came back.
Yeah.
He never came back. This is when I found my real strength,
Yeah.
the voice that I didn't need anyone,
Yeah.
that I could talk for myself. And it's not that I wasn't afraid of him, but I found my voice. So if anyone is listening, ask for help. It can be from a stranger. It can be from, stranger that has the tools to do it, not just someone that's, right? It can be a good friend. Just ask for help. All it takes, it's like the first phone call. It's like the heavy phone call, the heavy number, right? Sorry, the heavy phone. All it takes is this first step to really start seeing the shining light. Because what happens, you move from the shame, from the guilt, into I'm asking help. Turns us from the victim. Some people love the victim mode. When I work in my clients, I'm a toughie, right? I'm really sweet. I have a dimple, as you can see, but I'm a toughie. So if you really want to work hard, you have to put the work in it. So ask for help. Victim mode, tame it down, ask for help.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you wrote about is really about empowerment, becoming empowered to make changes. And I wonder if we can just go ahead and talk about your addiction now, and your relationship with Dan, and if you can describe how his addiction impacted you. Just kind of go through that story, what you learned from it, and how you would have people in that situation
Right.
overcome something like that.
Right. Because many of our listeners, even though that they're dealing with addiction, usually they magnet other people with addiction. So it's not only someone without addiction like I am, I did, that are magnetizing someone with addiction, alcoholism. So when I met Dan in the book, right, I remember that he said that he has a secret to tell me. I kid you not, John, I was ready. I was like, he's going to tell me his secret. So I'm an important person to him, right? It was like so exciting, charming and amazing. And he said, I'm in AA.
Oh,
And
wow.
I looked at him and his puzzle eye. It was a third date. And I looked at him and I said, I didn't know what AA is. I'm like, he's not a pilot in American Airlines. He's not a member of, AAA. I'm like, what is AA? And he told me what it is. And I was really puzzled what AA means. What does it mean? We all drank a little bit or do something a little bit. And we told me about his story. I was shocked. He was actually just ending sober living when I met him. And I thought, okay, he looks nice. He has a great job. I really didn't know what it means. It's just so clueless. And we were married and, we dated and we got married and he swiped me on my feet and we had a first child. And then the first relapse happened. And I thought, we can do it. And listen to me, John. I said, we can do it because I took his disease as if it would be mine. Right. And I was addicted into he's getting better. Oh, everything is okay. He's not better. And I'm freaking out. And then after a few relapses, it's also is he using or not? I know he's using. And then what happens? You start to play with your intuition. You don't trust yourself. People who are with other people that have, other women, gambling, alcohol, they stop trusting even themselves because there are big trust issues. So I used to look for things, right? And unlike alcohol, you can't really look for bottles. There is no scent. There is no, I know some clients who actually take the bottle and open to smell, or they put lines to measure it, crazy stuff, crazy things. But I looked for pills and I did it very systematically. I looked all over. He's very tall. I'm short. I used to take a ladder, go in the house. When I realized it's not in the house one day, I'm like, it's in the car. So I started searching the car every morning, put my clothes at 5 a.m. and search the car, like right side, left side, until one day I found it. And even when I found it, I was even embarrassed and ashamed to even tell him that. So that was my cycle. It was almost like I was chasing that. I was chasing him to make him feel better so I can feel better. And that's the unhealthy chasing. I wanted to feel good by soothing his addiction, which is crazy making.
And you also wrote about, I hear people talk about drama all the time. And it's usually like, I hate drama. I don't have drama in my life. Drama's bad. Yeah, I can see that. I do like drama in other people's life and kind of watching that. But
Yeah.
you wrote something about drama and about how addictive it is. And I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit, just
Right.
being addicted to the drama.
Right. So I'm just kind of like want to people understand how the book is constructed. So it is 21 chapters, and every chapter has three roots because it's driven from Hebrew. I speak and write different languages with different fonts. And in the end, there is a story. And in the end of each story, there is kind of like an anecdote. For example, this is what's hysterical, he's historical, right? So it's story and then tools for everyone. So drama, right? What happens is the addiction really wants you to come inside, I call it the gorilla cage, and dance with her. That's what the addiction does. It's not the addict. The addiction loves the drama, loves the passion, loves it because then there is somebody else to blame and then I can use, right? Because if there is drama or I feel sad or angry or chaotic or even excited, right? I can take the substance or gamble and then soothe myself. So what happens to a person who lives with this? They just voluntarily go to the cage. That's it. I'm in. He's fighting with me. I'm in. So it's not about liking or not liking the drama. It's about, again, I will go exactly where we talked in the beginning. It's about the feelings. I have feelings which are not, the ordinary feelings, and I don't know what to do with them. So I'm going to create a big drama because what do I do with these feelings? Right? One tool that I can give to non drama life is non triangles. Right? As I said, we're a family of six. I'm the oldest of six. So we had a lot of she said and he said and this sister said. And, it's a lot of like, even when I was married, it's he said. And today I don't have triangles. If I want to tell someone something, I just go to the person. If my sister calls me and she said, you have to talk to sister number one, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. If you want, you can do it. And that takes, again, courage. But my life is easier right now. And also with my workshop, it's a whole new thing, how to set healthy boundaries and not create triangles. People are afraid of boundaries. They imagine a big, big soldier coming and yelling at them or, something frightening. But boundaries is such a beautiful thing. Boundaries is self-respect. It's like, I love myself. So I just have a workshop of like how to set healthy boundaries.
I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit. That I think is something that people that are in recovery for a long period of time eventually have to deal with. I mean, you get your life back and you get a lot of activities in my case. And where I find I have a problem setting boundaries is not saying no and finding myself way overcommitted in a lot of different areas. And it causes a lot of chaos eventually.
Right. So I'm not going to give the entire workshop here. I just actually recorded it and it's going to be on my website very soon. But yeah, first of all, let's start with no is a complete sentence. Nope. And the second thing is like, I would even, start pondering why boundary is scary to that person. Because boundary always comes with something, the connotation is that it's something harsh, something that maybe people would not love me. It's the need of people pleasing. And as I said, people pleasing equals lying to myself. There's so much that is going with setting healthy boundaries. Okay. So until now, the people who would like to set boundaries, people yelled at him or didn't accept it. And it's okay if somebody didn't, accept your boundary, right? Just yesterday, I had someone have a phone call with me because sometimes I do phone calls in between meetings. And he was really, and I have men too, he was really upset at his girlfriend because she went out of the States and he asked her to give him a call when she lands there. So here we go. There is a need, right? I stated my need. My need is please call me when you land there. Did she call him? No, she was busy. And then he's like, I don't know what to do with it. And I said, this is exactly it. You set the boundary. Now, how do we do it? Right? So I love the say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. Right?
Right.
And I call it, I'm sorry for my French listener, the shit sandwich. So you don't just come and yell it. You start with the things you appreciate about the person. What is the need that you would like to be met, or the behavior that is not going to be done, and what are you going to do if it's not going to be done? Because this is the thing, and I'm just going to finish with that. A boundary is not to the other person. A boundary is always to myself. Always. And when I start to set healthy boundaries, I start to really appreciate myself. So it's appreciate my time, appreciate my energy, appreciate who am I. And this is when really self-love, everybody throw now on social media self-love, but how do you do it? What do you go to the mirror and say, I love myself? No, it's by really setting healthy boundaries with other people and know this is when they end and this is when I start. Many people that love addicts don't know when other person ends, I start. It's all like merged feelings. We. No, it's you start, you end, and I start. This is my zone. It's my safe zone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. So, why don't we talk a little bit about what you are doing now, if we could? There was, you wrote about your first when you went to your Al-Anon, and there was a woman there who became your mentor. I think it was your mentor, and she accompanied you to some really difficult times, like your divorce court and so forth. And she said that I'm not going to get involved in what's going on there, but I'm just going to be with you. And I wonder how much you learned. I mean, you've got that experience with her, but then you're also studying psychology yourself. So, I mean, you've learned a lot. I just wonder how you developed your way of helping people as a coach or as a mentor, where that came from and how you do it.
Right. So before that, I'm going to go step backward. As I said, I was really embarrassed. I had my first sponsor when I went to Al-Anon meeting, and I think that she's Lois's friend. I mean, really, she was so old, and I was afraid. She said, "Call me," and I thought, "What does she want from me?" Immediately, I thought that she wants something from me. Then things led up, and I had my second sponsor because my first one cannot do it anymore, and she's in the book. Her name is Ronnie. She's this humble, beautiful, gorgeous woman. And I wanted what she had. I wanted what she has. And I just called her and I was very vulnerable with her. And she always told me, even after the divorce, you will have another set of problems. And I said, I'm not ever going to have problems, right? And that's what happens. And that really empowered me, John, because I was really in the lowest of the low. If anyone is listening and you're in the dark and you don't know what to do, I want you to know one thing. You're in the dark, so the darkness, so you can find the light. You cannot find the light if you are in a lit room. There is no change. People don't change because it's comfortable. And I needed change for my life. The issue wasn't my ex-husband, it was my life altogether because I would keep magnetizing people like that. And I'm so empowered to do my PhD. Actually, my PhD, my research is about Al-Anon and trust and help other people who are in the same situation. The buzzword now I know is addiction, but hey, addiction is not a one person disease. It's a family, they call it actually a family disease. It's spill on everyone around the addicts, And what she gave me, I wanted to give to others. So whoever is listening, maybe you're in the dark now and you will find help. Or if people are listening and they already found the light, be in service, help others. It takes only one person to help, and then this person is going to help another person. And then really, I mean, this is what they say about our world. I mean, it's a cliche. We'll look better and happier, but only serve one person. It's like a domino. So that was my inspiration from her and from my work in life. And I'm looking forward.
Can you tell me what positive psychology is?
Okay. Thank you for asking. So, positive psychology is actually, I mean, many people know it as the tools. It's finding tools that are actually doing positive action in order to deal with the trauma, the chaos, the feeling, whatever it is. For example, gratitude, right? Gratitude is a tool of positive psychology. Now, I even take it a notch higher because people think that gratitude is like I'm asking any person, they would say, I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for, my job. I'm like, this is not deep enough. Because if I'm really grateful, I'm grateful for myself of doing the action that showed to me that I am emotionally mature in this life. Right? Everybody, in my work, I give assignments with my clients. Everybody needs to do something else. So gratitude is one of them. I'm working on God's box. I don't know if you know what God box is.
Yes, I've heard of it. You, any of your problems, you put it in the box.
Exactly. Or your worries or your obsessions, you put it in God's box, and it doesn't have to be called God, it could be Word God, Universe God. And this is a way to actually develop the muscle of trust. Because if I am in bed and thinking and overthinking and overdigesting the same problem again and again and again, it's not only it's not going to solve itself, I'm hurting myself. But it's another tool that I'm going to use to do trust. So this is positive psychology, like turning the action into positive action in order to help you with the trauma and, the victimhood or is the obsession, the fears, right?
Right. Well, you've got quite a thing going here. I don't know how you do all of this.
I don't know either.
But I really did enjoy your book. I would recommend it highly to anybody. And as you said, there are tools throughout that book. You describe experiences, and sometimes you jump around from one period of your life to another period of life. But it's all kind of woven together, and it's just a beautiful story. It's so honest and real, and you're so open. I just think it took a lot of courage to put yourself out there like that. A memoir about something like that, about that part of your life and how you overcame it. I mean, it's helpful, but it takes a lot of courage to be that honest.
Absolutely. It's my work now is not for me. No, actually, my book was hidden in the drawer for 2 years. Even more. I wrote it while I got divorced, just wrote a book in 6 months and I put it in the drawer. I was really afraid that even someone will find it. And then after the divorce, after I healed, like slowly, but I healed, I decided to publish it. It's my third book. But, I talked about relationship with parents and children. I wrote a children's book, which is actually a series of 5 books, Mommy and Daddy, as I said, Mommy and Mama, Daddy and Papa, single mom, single dad. I thought it's time. It's time to be honest. It's releasing. There is the phrase, the wounded healer, right? It's, the wounded healer wants to heal other people. And I feel that's my mission in life. The more I spread the word, the more people come to me and say, please help me. Please help me. So when I work with you, when I warn you, it's going to be amazing process, but also you're going to work. The most important thing to anyone's life, it's them. Right?
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me here on our podcast, and I loved your book. I'm going to recommend it to my listeners for sure, and also my mother-in-law, who's an Al-Anon, for her to read it as well.
Thank you so much, John. And I just, as we talked about being service for others, and I do it in every podcast. So in every podcast, the 3 first people who will contact me, so they can do it through the website or through DM of my Instagram, it's Etel Leit. Everything is Etel Leit. 3 people who will DM me, I'll give them a free tool.
Nice.
For some people, they're embarrassed, but I'm opening my door. I'll give them one tool to deal with what they're going now. And you never know how it will help them.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you and being in this podcast.